Are you planning your first trip to Vietnam? Whether you're dreaming of bustling cities, tranquil rice paddies, or world-famous street food, there's no feeling quite like boarding a plane for a new adventure. But before you pack your bags and set your sights on Vietnam, there are 6 crucial things every American traveler absolutely must know. These aren't just travel tips. They're must-follow rules that could make or break your experience. So, stick around until the end, because the 6th rule could save your entire trip. Let's count down the essential checklist every U.S. citizen needs before landing in Vietnam. Number 6. Visa duration and extensions. Before you travel, check the official Vietnam e-visa portal to see which visa type fits your trip. Now, what if you want to stay longer? Extensions are possible, but don't wait until the last week of your trip to start the process. You'll need to work with a reputable travel agency or apply directly at the local immigration office in Vietnam. Be ready with your passport, visa, a passport-sized photo, and the correct fee, usually payable in Vietnamese dong. Extensions can take from 5 to 7 business days, and there's no guarantee your request will be approved. If your plans change, always act fast. Don't risk overstaying, because Vietnamese authorities check exit dates at the airport, and penalties are enforced without exception. Number 5. Cultural and social etiquette. You might be used to American customs, but Vietnam is a different world when it comes to social etiquette. Respect is everything. For example, always greet with a slight bow or a smile. When visiting someone's home, take off your shoes at the door. When handing money or a document, use both hands as a sign of respect. It's also best to avoid public displays of affection, which can be frowned upon in many places. Dress modestly, especially when visiting temples or pagodas. Shoulders and knees should be covered, and hats should be removed before entering sacred spaces. Photography is usually allowed, but always ask before snapping photos of people or religious ceremonies. If you're invited to a meal, wait for the oldest person to start eating before you begin. Never stick your chopsticks upright in a bowl of rice. It symbolizes death and is considered extremely disrespectful. On the street, patience is key. Vietnamese traffic might seem chaotic, but people move with a sense of mutual respect. If you accidentally bump into someone, a polite smile or quick apology goes a long way. And remember, loud arguments or displays of anger are considered poor taste. The Vietnamese value harmony, so keep your cool even if things get stressful. Number 4. Traffic and road safety. Next, let's address one of the biggest culture shocks for Americans, Vietnam's legendary traffic. In major cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, motorbikes outnumber cars by the thousands. Crossing the street is an art form. Don't wait for the traffic to stop. It won't. Instead, step forward steadily and confidently. The flow will move around you. Make eye contact with approaching drivers and walk at a consistent pace. If you want to rent a scooter or motorbike, know this. U.S. driver's licenses are not valid in Vietnam. You'll need an International Driving Permit, IDP, and a Vietnamese translation, or a temporary Vietnamese license. Police checkpoints are common, and driving without the proper paperwork could lead to fines or your vehicle being confiscated. Helmets are mandatory, and seatbelts are required in cars. Accidents do happen, and medical facilities in rural areas are limited, so take extra care on the road. For taxis and ride shares, stick to reputable companies like MyLin or Vinasun, or use the Grab app for a safer experience. Always check that the meter is running, and avoid accepting rides from unlicensed drivers outside airports or tourist hotspots. If you plan on cycling or walking, stay alert. Sidewalks are often shared with parked bikes or street vendors. Number 3. Residence registration. Here's a rule that surprises many travelers. All foreigners, including Americans, must register their place of residence with the local police within 24 hours of arrival. If you're staying at a hotel or hostel, the front desk usually handles this for you. But if you're staying at an Airbnb, guest house, or friend's house, you're responsible for registration. This rule comes from Vietnam's immigration law, and failing to comply can mean trouble if you ever need to extend your visa or deal with authorities. Registration requires your passport and visa, and sometimes a small fee. The host or landlord must fill out a form and submit it to the local police station. If you switch accommodations during your stay, repeat the process. Always keep a copy of your registration or ask your host for one. It's your proof of compliance. In rare cases, police may do spot checks, so have your documents handy at all times. This isn't just red tape. Proper registration can protect your legal status if you lose your passport, get sick, or need to contact your embassy. Number 2, Customs and Entry Declaration. Now, let's talk about what happens the moment you land in Vietnam. Customs procedures are straightforward, but there are strict rules about what you can and cannot bring into the country. You must declare if you're carrying more than $5,000 USD in cash, gold, or other valuable items. Failure to do so can lead to seizure or fines. Certain medications, especially those containing strong painkillers or psychotropic substances, are banned or require a prescription and a doctor's note. Check with your airline or the Vietnamese embassy before packing your pills. Don't bring in pornography, anti-government materials, or anything that could offend national security. Electronic devices are generally fine, but customs may ask to inspect them. Food, plants, and animal products face strict scrutiny. If you're a foodie and want to bring home spices or coffee, double-check the latest regulations. When in doubt, declare it. Officials are usually friendly, but honesty is the best policy at customs. As you fill out your entry declaration, make sure all details match your passport and visa. If you're staying more than 15 days or entering with a multi-entry visa, you might be asked for proof of onward travel or your accommodation address. Keeping digital and printed copies of these documents can speed up the process. Number 1, Visa and Passport Rules. We've reached the most important rule of all. Your visa and passport must always be in order. The Vietnamese government requires all U.S. citizens to have a valid passport with at least 6 months of validity beyond your planned departure date. Without this, you can be denied boarding at your U.S. airport or refused entry upon arrival. Next, the visa. As of the latest update, U.S. citizens can apply for a 30-day e-visa online, valid for single or multiple entries. The application is straightforward, but double-check your personal information. Errors can delay approval or cause problems at the border. You'll need a digital passport photo, a scan of your passport's information page, and a credit card for the processing fee, which is non-refundable even if your application is denied. For longer stays, business trips, or family visits, different visa types are available, each with specific requirements. Never use a tourist visa for work or volunteer projects, as this can result in deportation or a permanent ban. Visa on arrival options still exist, but only if you have a pre-approval letter from a registered travel agency. Without this document, you'll be turned away at the airport. Keep your passport and visa with you at all times. Vietnamese law requires foreigners to produce identification upon request. Losing your passport can mean days of bureaucratic hassle, so store it securely, and consider carrying a photocopy for day-to-day use. The real-life impact. So, what happens if you ignore these 6 rules? Let's paint a real-world picture. Imagine your visa expires, you get stopped by police, and you haven't registered your residence. You could face immediate fines, be detained, or even deported. Or maybe you try to bring prescription medication without the right paperwork. Customs could confiscate it, or you might be denied entry. Driving a motorbike without the right license? You risk fines, accidents, and no insurance coverage. And if you don't follow social etiquette, you might offend locals or even run into problems with authorities. Each of these rules is enforced, and while Vietnamese people are famously welcoming, the government holds foreigners to high standards. Economic and social impact. Why are these rules so strict? Vietnam welcomes millions of tourists every year, and tourism is a pillar of the economy. But the government aims to balance open borders with national security and public order. Proper visa and customs procedures protect against smuggling and illegal overstays. Residence registration helps police keep communities safe and respond quickly in emergencies. Road safety rules are in place to protect both locals and visitors. especially in a country where traffic is a major part of daily life. And on the social side, respecting local customs builds bridges and creates lifelong positive memories. Travelers who adapt to Vietnamese etiquette find doors open, literally and figuratively. A single act of courtesy can turn a brief encounter into a lasting friendship. Practical tips for American travelers. So how can you make your trip smooth and stress-free? Here's a quick recap and checklist before you fly. Double-check that your passport is valid for at least 6 months after your planned return date. Apply for the correct visa well in advance, and keep digital and printed copies of your approval. Register your residence immediately upon arrival, especially if you're not staying at a hotel. Follow customs rules. Declare cash, valuables, and restricted items honestly. Study Vietnam's traffic laws and consider hiring a driver if you're not confident navigating the roads. Learn a few Vietnamese phrases and brush up on cultural etiquette. Simple gestures make a big difference. Pack extra passport photos. You'll need them for visa extensions or other paperwork. Save the contact information for the U.S. Embassy in Hanoi and the consulate in Ho Chi Minh City. Stay up to date. Vietnam's entry rules can change with little notice, especially in response to global events. If you're extending your trip, start the process early. Waiting until the last minute can leave you stranded. And remember, respect, preparation, and flexibility are your best travel companions. Your call to action. Ready for your Vietnam adventure? Don't let paperwork or misunderstandings hold you back from the trip of a lifetime. Review these 6 essential rules, follow them carefully, and you'll enjoy everything this vibrant country has to offer. From the bustling markets of Saigon to the ancient streets of Hanoi, the emerald waters of Ha Long Bay to the peaceful hills of Sapa. If you found this guide helpful, hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update on travel laws and tips for Vietnam and beyond. Got a question or a real-life story about traveling in Vietnam? Drop it in the comments. We love hearing from fellow travelers. Wishing you safe travels, unforgettable memories, and a smooth journey from touchdown to takeoff. Vietnam awaits, and now you're ready to make the most of every moment.